Alright everyone, welcome back to another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes video with Fat Phil, and in this video we're going to talk about a viewer question from Kuba Gracie. This is a great question to ask about some GAC stuff, so let's dive right in and look at the question here. So they asked me, what can you do short term and long term when facing much stronger opponents in GAC? Alright, and they give an example here. Many people are in this kind of situation. What would you focus? What things to avoid? How would you manage resources knowing 90% of your future GACs, people are going to have a much bigger roster, more relics, and more GLs? That's a great question. I love that question, and I think it's really, really good. So I'm going to go ahead and answer that, but first I want to thank my channel members. If you guys want to join the channel memberships, the link is in the description down below. These guys get a special area of the Discord to get a little bit more access to me. You'll also get priority during roster reviews on streams, get a little bit more in-depth of a review. So just a little bit more access to, me and, the knowledge that I have. So if you guys are interested, go ahead, join that. Otherwise, just make sure you're subscribed. For 10,000 subscribers, we will do something. I'm just going to say this right now, Jack. I don't know that I can stomach a Relic 9 cup. I really don't know that I can stomach that. That is just an absurd amount of resources to be spending. So we'll think of something fun to do. I don't know what it'll be yet. It could be Relic 9 Cup. I don't know. It just, we'll see what happens. But let's get into the game and talk about GAC. So this is a great topic, especially because my current opponent is absurd. I'm going up against this guy with 11.3 million galactic power. The only thing they're missing is Riva. So they've got a much larger account than me. So what do you do in this situation? You need to face acceptance, right? You have to have acceptance that this is going to happen and this is the matchmaking. This is the world we live in, right? So short term, it's acceptance, right? That's the first, to answer that first question, you just got to accept that these are your things. In the long term, you need to learn from these matches and understand why you lost. If you're going up against somebody with only one more galactic legend than you, ask yourself, now what cost you that? Was it just you didn't have the galactic legend? Did you not have enough to other teams, right? Like, if I go up against this guy and I lose against his Rey, right? Let's say I lose against Rey. I'm going to face the fact of, did my counter not work? Should I have used a Galactic Legend? If I had Rey myself, what could they have done differently? On the flip side, I'll be like, oh, well, they have Grand Inquisitor and I don't. They have, Trench and Afra, a lot of different things that I just don't have right now. Iden. Did I just run out of good teams to use against them? And that's a very valid question, right? That's not out of the blue for me to ask that. Did I just not have enough teams to be able to deal with an account of this size? So if so, I know that going forward, right, in the long term, it's just I need to build more teams. The other thing, though, would be, let's say I fail on, their ships because they've just got a lot more relic levels on their pilots, right? They've got better ships. They've got a resistance fleet. Did I lose because I just don't have enough ships to contend with them, right? Ships is another area I think a lot of people can lose on. So figure out where you lost from. I noticed for a long time that I was losing in ships, and so one of the things I did, I went and built all of my ships up, and I'm not saying my fleets are great, but they're a lot better than they used to be. So just something to think about, right? That ships is also an area. So how do you use your resources, though, right? Because short term, it's just there's no help, right? You don't have any help in the short term. Long term, understand why you lost, learn from it, and start building your roster. So let's say I lose because I don't have a let's say I don't have Rey, right? That's the reason that I identify that Rey is the reason I lost. That, I lose by 10 banners and it's because I dropped against their Rey and everything else was perfect, right? Okay, I lost because I didn't have Rey, right? That I wasn't able to counter Rey. If I had my own Rey, maybe they would have dropped, or maybe I would have had more. They wouldn't have been able to place as tough of a defense and I could have done more, right? So that could be, the case. Let's say I beat Rey, I beat other GLs, but I can't beat Iden Versio. Okay, maybe I need to build some more of those, B tier teams to compete with stuff like that. So how do you identify what team to build, right? Use your resources. What I'd look for are a couple of things. So let's go to my Separatists. So I'm going to be close to getting Admiral Trench. And if we look at my Admiral Trench, we look at the characters like my Separatists, if I just get Admiral Trench, my leftover Separatists go from being okay to being a significantly better team. So I could use Trench, and now I get a team that's actually going to be pretty good and capable of punching up pretty well, right? Or capable of punching to a certain level really well. That's just investing in a single character, right? A single relic. Compared to someone like Iden, where Iden, I'd need to invest not only in her, right, to get to relics, but let's just, for the sake of argument, say I need to invest in these 4 characters, right? 4 more characters, 5 characters total to build an Iden team. That could be a very real situation. So now I'm looking at, okay, Trench, it gives me a team that I don't have right now and would be significantly better compared to I've got to build 5 relics to get a good Iden team up and running, right? Because let's say I would even use Stark in the Iden team, I'd then need to build Gideon for this team. So, it's 5 relics total. But like Jedi, right? Oops, that's Rebels. Come on, Phil. Another example of like how to use your resources. If I take Jolie and Barisafi to relics, that's going to significantly boost the Jedi that I can use with my, Jedi Master Luke or with other characters, and thus give me better chances of, being better on offense, better on defense kind of stuff. So that's another thing you can do, right? It's just understand the impact of, by building this character and this character, I now can use my Jedi Master Luke differently. I can use Jedi Knight Luke elsewhere, that situation. And the last one I'm going to show is my smugglers. So I have Dash Rendar, I've got Vandor. I am working on L3. L3 is slotted to be Relic, and if I do that, I'll probably Relic Enfys Nest to Relic 5 just so I can use a higher class of Datacrons. But that'll just help my team, right? And then when I go to build Dr. Aphra, I'll get Hondo Onaka that I can slot in this team. And so it'll just be something that by looking at, where one character or 2 characters makes a significant difference or allows me to use a team that I wasn't using before, that's where I would focus your stuff long term, right? That's the way you build long term. Look for where 1 or 2 small things makes a significant difference, right? That's more of a short term, and then into the long term, right? Is what's like 1 or 2 things you can do to get a big boost. And then long term, obviously, build those Galactic Legends, build those higher caliber teams. Because, at the end of the day, guys, look, I'm sorry, but the truth of the matter is, like, there's no secret to, like, okay, if you farm gas before this, you farm from this before that, like, you need to build an entire roster. But you can at least understand where to go and why. That, do you need to be building ships at this time, or do you need to be building, characters? Just look at where you're taking your losses and understand what caused your loss. I'm going to show you guys let me see if I can get to this here. My Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes.gg. Let's go to my GAC history. And, all right, let's pop this open. Go to my screen capture. So here's my GG, right? And if I go to this last round here, I lost by 9 banners against this guy. And if we go to the, my attacks, right? And we go to where I ended up losing, right? So I lost to this I won to the Sana team. I lost to Jabba, right? And I had to clean that up with another Galactic Legend. I had no clue how to go after this Jabba with the 100, stupid amount of armor. And then you look like my Night Sisters failed against Zori, which I thought this would be a counter for that. And I just, my Night Sisters are not that kind of gear. So, okay, I failed on Zori, right? I understand why I failed Jabba. I just did not have a good enough team to beat that. Dr. Aphra, I had to 2-shot her, right? My team wasn't good enough to be able to 1-shot a Dr. Aphra. So another situation where, like, there was a team that I just wasn't going to be able to 1-shot. And you can see I tried a couple things, right? Again, Dash here. I did try this, and then I had to, like, multi-shot Dash. So if I didn't do this, right, if I just would have... And I had this team here. I was trying to see if I could save them to maybe beat... I was trying to see if I could clear Zori as well, and I just wasn't able to get it done. And unfortunately, that cost me the GAC, right? And then I also failed against Negotiator brutally too, which that could have been a better battle. Again, like, there's a bunch of things I learned from here. My Empire isn't good enough to beat Negotiator right now. I don't have the Scythe. If I had Scythe, I think I could have won. I didn't have the ground teams to be able to compete with this person, right? They have more stuff than me, but that I had to do some battles that I wasn't quite willing to do, or that I just didn't quite have the counters for. So I learned, right, going forward, where I need to build. What are a few things I can do? Okay, I need to be able to have counters for Dr. Aphra. I might not be able to set as strong of a defense because, my opponent still, failed on some of my teams, right? Now this he told me was a purposeful shot, but like this here, right? Adrad got holds, they tried to... again, like, look, like, he even used his Kenobi against my Lord Vader. Like, that was a solid, one for me, right? A full First Order team against this. I mean, they did some good things here, right? He played pretty well. But overall, just one of these situations where I really think what set me apart was, or what I learned from this is I need those ground teams. I need those middle teams to be able to compete with these guys now that they've released some of these and not that Galactic Legend. So hopefully this helps you. I don't know if I've been rambling for too long, but, in terms of how to use your resources, it's just, figure out what you need to, like, for me now, I'm, if we look at what my farming path is, right, trying to get Grand Inquisitor, which is going to help me significantly. Obviously we're getting Leviathan because I just need the ships for other things, but we've got L3, we've got Shorty, right? We're starting to work on some of these things to prepare ourselves for those middle tier teams that aren't quite Galactic Legend level, but are above, like an Imperial Troopers, right? So that's kind of the thought process, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully there's some nuggets of information you can use of when you're outmatched in GAC. Again, like and subscribe, comment down below, let me know your thoughts. I love all you guys. May the force be with you. I'm going to see you in the next video. Cheers.